Okay, so today, boys, for class, we are going to get back into inferencing.
Inferences are something that Jennifer Ramsey and her sixth graders can really get behind.
London, will you do the honors, please?
Inferencing is my life.
Inferencing is my life.
I live to infer.
I live to infer.
And I infer to live.
And I infer to live.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Ramsey wants her students to learn how to draw inferences when they read, but she also wants them to see how it's a skill they're constantly using outside of the classroom.
But today, I want to start by showing you some real-world examples. We know that what good readers do are, well, all of these things, right? We make predictions, we ask questions, we make connections, we visualize, and we also make inferences, right? But you probably don't realize that you make inferences in the real world all the time. And when we can strengthen our ability to inference, we can strengthen our ability to comprehend what we're reading, okay? So I have this poster up here, and I want you boys to look at these pictures, and then we're gonna try to make some inferences based off of what we see. Now again, every time that you make an inference, you're using what you see, you're using your prior knowledge, and then you're gonna make your inference, right? So if I look at one of these pictures and I say this is what I can infer, I have to be able to say it's because of this, and I have to be able to provide my evidence, okay?
Using photographs, Ms. Ramsey will help her students tap into the inference skills they unconsciously use every day.
And Cameron, tell the class what this picture is of.
It's a picture of a Best Buy store, and there's a whole line of people waiting for something.
Is it a small line or a big one?
A big line.
Is it day or night?
Night.
So we can look at this picture and get so much information, right? So what can you infer from looking at all of this information?
I can infer that there's probably a new product that's out that everybody wants.
Excellent. Can you write that down? And then I'm going to call in the class while Cameron is writing that. Can we go a little bit deeper and make another inference using what we know and using evidence from the picture? Kayvon, what else can we infer about this photo over
I can
here?
infer that it's Black Friday.
Right. And what is Black Friday?
It's like when sales, it's like close to Christmas.
It's right. It's the day after Thanksgiving, right? When everyone goes bonkers for all these crazy sales, and they usually line up at what time of day?
Night.
At nighttime, right after they ate all the turkey, and they get in these crazy lines to buy iPods or whatever, okay? So we can infer that these people are here. So we can now figure out the setting, why they're there. We can even pin it to a day on the calendar, right? How can we infer about how these people are feeling? Just put yourself, what can we infer about how they are feeling right now? Kamar?
Well, I can infer that the people are feeling kind of disappointed that the line is so long.
I agree.
And then they won't be able to, they're going to take about an hour just to get in to get what they want.
Probably. So they're probably feeling like a little disappointed, a little anxious. Am I going to get in? Can I have another one? Demetrius?
Like the people in the front are super excited because they the first person to get their item.
They're probably really excited, okay? Good. Very good. And that's why I put that picture up, because we really don't know what's going on. There's a few different situations that could be happening, but I wanted you to make your inferences and then use the evidence from what you see. So how many of you are thinking like, wow, I didn't know that I could make inferences just looking at the world around me? Like you're like, oh, so I basically infer all the time. I infer without even knowing that I am doing it, right? Okay.
One common error that students can sometimes make is confusing inference and fact. So Ms. Ramsey has her boys practice telling the difference.
Hard. We are going to do fact versus inference, okay? And again, just before we start, and while I'm passing out the papers, who can tell me the difference between, when you're reading nonfiction text, how can you tell the difference between something that is a fact and something that is an inference? Laquan?
I could tell if something is a fact because it states exactly what it says in the text.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I can also infer based on the evidence from the text before.
Good. So if it states something directly, what do we usually do? We usually underline it to make sure that we have the same thing. And then if it's an inference, right, we usually know that we can't find it exactly in the text because that's when we're reading how? Between the lines, as they say, right? And then just by looking, because we know that one of our good test-taking strategies is to use pictures, titles, and directions to make predictions about what we're going to read. We see a thermometer, so what are we probably going to read about? Yes, Kayvon?
On the picture, it's up to 100, so I can predict that it's going to be hot.
I like that you're looking at those details in the photos. Okay, now that we've made our predictions like good readers do before they read, we're going to actually go ahead and read. And then we're going to decide whether the statements below are fact or inference. Who would like to read for me today? Nice and loud and proud. Go ahead, Anthony.
Together, the class reads a short piece on how unpredictable weather has caused problems during the Olympics.
Okay, so now, I had no idea that the weather had affected the Olympics so much, okay? So I'm gonna read these 4 statements, and we're gonna decide if it's a fact or inference. We can do it how we usually do, and we're gonna yell out and debate each other, okay? Ready for this? All right, so the first statement says, a lack of snow has threatened the Winter Olympics. What do we think? Okay, I'm hearing mixed reviews. So if you think that it's a fact, I need you to go into the text and underline where you found this information. Jeffrey wants to see, where is this information at? Okay, Demetrius, you ready to stake your claim? Go ahead.
Because I think it's a fact because in the text it say lack of snow had made things difficult at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree that that is a fact. It doesn't say it directly, it says it in a different way, doesn't it? So that's why it's so tricky, because sometimes it says it doesn't say it verbatim, word for word, but we have to be really good detectives and determine whether this is a fact or whether this is a inference. Okay, you ready? Olympic organizers have to be good problem solvers.
Inference.
Keyshawn, why do you think that one's an inference?
I say it's an inference because it's not in the text.
It's not in the text, and why would we infer that they have to be good problem solvers? Because why?
Because the weather can always, sometimes affect the Olympics.
Right, and that causes what?
Problems.
So if you're going to work for the Olympic Committee, you better know how to solve some of these problems to get around all the different types of weather situations, right? How many of us got that right? All of us? Starting to see a trend here.
After the whole group exercises are over, Ms. Ramsey has her students work together in groups of 2 or 3.
I want to see some of your own thinking in action, okay? So today, I'm going to give you an article. Some of these articles come from Time for Kids magazine, okay? Now, you're going to work with your partner, and I'm going to show you how I would like to see this done. You're going to read it to yourselves. You're going to read it with your partner. Would it be fair if Jeff is my partner, do I read all of it to him, or does he read all of it to me? No. You're reading it how? Together. Our focus for this activity is to participate and work well with our partners. I have pulled a whole bunch of different articles for Time for Kids magazine, okay? And you're going to work with your partner. You're both going to go over and read. And, you know, there's a lot of information here, so you might get overwhelmed, but let's just talk about how we're going to approach this. Should we read all of the article and then go and write down all the inferences we have?
No.
No. What style should we do this in? We should We should chunk it together, right? So like, if you just want to read this bundle of information and circle it, stop and make your inferences. But you are not just going to write an inference. I want, apart from the text, I want some kind of evidence, some kind of proof to back up your thinking here, okay? I don't want you making wild inferences about these pictures and about what you're reading. So remember, stay true to form and make an inference, but cite it.
All right, come on, we gotta do this paragraph.
This small group work gives the students a chance to test their own ability to draw inferences while still getting support from their classmates.
More than 40 tribal groups and 30 languages must all come together in this East African nation.
So what can we infer?
I infer that their nation is much different from living in a regular North American.
Yes, I can infer that they are different from all because they said there's 40 tribal groups and 30 languages. We only got one language.
Ms. Ramsey monitors the students' comprehension as they work and keeps an eye out for underdeveloped skills or knowledge gaps that may need bolstering.
Can you get a status update now? What did you just do, boys?
We read the whole paragraph. I mean, we read the whole story. Then
The whole article?
in the middle of the story, we was like, I infer. We never inferred.
In the middle of the story. So now that you've caught yourself, right?
We had to read this over now.
Right, and what do we call that when we read one part and then make an inference? We call it chunking, right? What did you call it? Gargling? Okay, chunking. So again, there's no rush for this, right? Because when we put too much information in our brain, we're not able to like stop and infer. Stop and find the evidence, okay? The whole point is to go a little bit slow and dissect this information. We are looking and digging deeper, okay? Like detectives. So boys, just to help us to get our minds ready for that, let's just circle this first paragraph. You ready? Now, can you discuss with your teammates here what you might infer? I'm just gonna give you one hint here. Demetrius, what do you think about the language? What can we infer about language in that paragraph? Let's just chunk what we just read. What can we infer about the languages here?
They got all kind of different languages than us because we only got one.
Right, well, that tells us they have 30, but can we infer that?
People don't talk to each other because they got 30 languages, so they all must speak different languages.
So maybe that sometimes we can infer that sometimes.
Tribal groups don't talk to each other.
Right. Maybe they have complications discussing things or communicating because they speak a different language. How about that we can infer that Swahili is the language that they speak in Kenya?
I infer that that's
You-
the capital city.
Swahili? Swahili is a type of language, and we know that because they tell us that this is a word in Swahili, and then it tells us what that word means. They translate it for us, right? It does not say Kenyans speak Swahili, but we can infer that because of what the quote they're telling us, right? Okay, I want to see you do another one on your own, boys. Keep going. So after you write down what you were just able to infer, I want you to chunk the next time and go and do it again. Same thing again. Who's gonna clap it out for me? 10, 9.
As class time draws to a close, Ms. Ramsey pulls the students back together, letting them know that the end of class won't mean the end of drawing inferences.
Stand up. 0 and business. Excellent job. I wish that we had more time. After I realized what was happening, I really wish that we had more time to apply this strategy. But don't worry, there's always tomorrow.